All right, well, I think we're doing this. This is going to be my first live stream. I'm going to be unboxing the State Bike all-road bike. This is my first time doing this, so hopefully it goes smoothly and you guys like this style of video. If you guys do, make sure to comment in the chat or in the comments below if you're watching this after it's been posted live. Maybe I'll do this more often. So I'm going to basically be putting this bike together. I'll be monitoring the chat to see if you guys have any questions that are just general or you want to know something about the bike, either while I'm putting it together or after it's done. I'll sit and chat for a little bit if there's people in the chat. So let's get started. I think I have everything. If you've never put a bike together yourself, typically the most common things you're going to need is a multi-tool. Typically that's going to be just your 3, 4, and 5 millimeter, a pedal wrench, or an 8 millimeter, depends on the pedals, a little bit of bike grease, and that's typically about it. Usually when you buy a bike, they're predominantly about 80% assembled. So we're going through that process. Now, I haven't actually opened the bike. This is me actually unboxing it. I actually don't even know what color it is. I didn't even look at the label. I do have both wheel sets, so I will be unboxing both. It did come spec'd with the 650Bs, and then I have the 700s as well, so we'll be looking at both of those, giving my initial thoughts and impressions. So here we go. So first off, obviously this bike's going to be a little off camera, is I wanted to mention that this is actually not a new bike. I actually reached out to State when it got announced to try to get a unit for review, and they actually had already sold out of all of the mediums at that point. If you watch Alternate Cycling, and if you don't, you should, and I'll make sure to update the description and add the link to me, Russ, and Eric's channel that we do that on. But they sold out really fast, but they had one medium left as their photo shoot bike. So that's actually the unit that I have here. So it may or may not have some light scuffs, but it does obviously have some use because it was put together, built for the photo shoot they did for the launch of this bike. Other updates that they have done that I was aware of today is they actually have swapped the tires out. So now both wheel sizes are going to come with Vittoria tires. I believe they're going to run the Vittoria dries for the 700, and I'll verify that right now. So you're either going to get the Vittoria Torino Zeros in a size 38, or you're going to get a lot bigger set for the 650s, a Vittoria Barzo in a 2.1. So actually quite a bit wider than what you're running for this. And as far as Dawn medium, yep, that's what I got. So they recommend this basically for anybody 5'9" to, I believe they said 6'1" or 6'2", and then with a recommended inseam of 32 inches is what the box says as well. So we're gonna be pulling this thing out. So here's the first look. Okay, we got the tan walls, all right, and I have the tan frame. All right, so let's set this over here. So basically whenever you get it, you're going to keep the box so you can put all your trash in something. And what I actually do, just to make it easier, is just actually put the frame up to the seat. Yeah, actually do this. So you want to grease this. I always use Park Tool. Just so you have a little bit of this between the seat post and the seat. Spread this on around the seat post and then a little bit in the frame. And that way you can easily clamp this thing up to ideally your work stand. But if you don't have one, you can always use the box and actually just kind of hang the front fork in there. But for video purposes, I will be using my work stand. All right, so initial thoughts, packaged very well. Obviously, they've repacked it once, but whoever did it actually did a pretty good job. And Gabriel, no, it is not a carbon seat post. This bike retails, if you get just one wheel set, at $799. So it doesn't have a carbon seat post, but it is $27.2, so it would be very easy to get one. And I do believe, I'm not 100% sure if they actually have a carbon post on their website to sell. I believe they have their Esser brand. So if you can't find one through them, obviously that's an easy, common size to find. And this does come in another colorway. It's a little more of like a gray. And I believe you can spec if you want black or tan tires when you order the bike. That's one nice thing with State. When you order something, it is very easy to get pretty much exactly what you want. And they do offer this bike with both wheel sets as an option. So if you want to just buy both, they come basically already set up to swap easily. So you're going to get a wheel set with cassette rotors ready to rock. So ideally, you're just changing wheels out, and you shouldn't have to adjust anything after your initial dialing in of the drivetrain and everything else, setting up the brake rotors so that they don't obviously rub. So that way it's very easy and seamless to swap between the two wheel sizes. That is something that I may do a video on. It's something that I'm currently doing a lot on my Cobalt Warhawk. If you follow me on Instagram, also working on another video of making your gravel bike a road bike. And the few things that I felt differently about between the two wheel sizes, obviously setting them up so that that switching process is as easy as possible. So State kind of takes all that work out for you by offering the two exact same wheel sets between, depending on what size you want. All right, so the big reveal of the down tube here. All right, so this in person, if anybody's interested, looks a lot less yellow and more of a sand color. I don't think the camera is doing it a whole lot of justice. This is more, if anybody is into cars, this is more of that kind of tundra sand color. It's not as dark as that, but it's kind of in that family of colors. On their website, it looks a little bit more yellow than I think it does in person. So if you were worried about this, this is more of like a desert sand color. We'll take a look at the chat in a second. And if anybody wants to comment, how's the audio and everything? Obviously, again, this is my first time doing it in this style. So we're still working out some kinks possibly. Okay, so I'll take a look at the chat. Yeah, it's definitely an alloy seat post. Awesome. Thanks, Don. Always looking out. All right, so now we're going to get onto the front end of the bike. I'm assuming, since this was the photo shoot bike, it's probably going to be a little bit more adjusted than the one that you're going to get if you order one at home. So keep that in mind. I may or may not be working on this a little bit less than expected since it has been ridden. Obviously, I'll go through it either way. I'm going to give you, again, my first impressions of putting this together. But if you're worried about putting this together yourself at home, essentially all of what I'm doing is going to be the exact same, minus you may or may not have to do a little bit more derailleur tuning or brake rotor or caliper adjustment. So that's something that obviously you might spend some more time on. And I'm going to give you my initial tips on those as well if you guys are interested. Because this is a new group set for State that I'm actually very curious to try. I've seen it around before on online. And State came out with, I think, a great looking version, their own version of it, with their own bar and everything else. So a very interesting bike and group set. Gearing wise, I believe this is a 40 in the front with a 1142 in the rear. If you guys watch the Alternate Cycling talk about this bike specifically, I've seen them send this or ship this group set with a 50 tooth cassette, which if I can get my hands on one to try out, I'd love to. They said it didn't shift super well, and I could understand why. So it might be something where 1146 might be a little bit better suited, but that's definitely something that I would like to try in the future after getting this bike initially set up. Okay, so this is a little backwards here. think that's it. Trying to keep these cables aligned the way they wanted. Okay. Everything so far looks good. I don't actually see any real signs of wear. This color's kind of grown on me. I was definitely partial to the other color, but in person, this actually, I think, is pretty nice. All right, we're doing it live, guys. You can't fake this. All right, so let's see. Use pool noodle. I believe this is a straight steer tube. It looks pretty fat to where you should be able to upgrade it to tapered, but that I'm not sure. Let me pull up their website here and see if it mentions what the frame is. So it looks like, yeah, they just say for the frame and fork, they just say what the spacing is, so I can't confirm that. But if State logs on or is watching this, or check the comments later, maybe I'll update it with my comment or theirs. That is something I'd definitely be curious of as far as fork options for later if you wanted to go carbon. The nice thing with this steel fork specifically, though, is it does have pretty much every single mount I think they offer as far as a fork mount goes. So I haven't seen any carbon forks that have this many mounts on them. So obviously lose some utility, but obviously you'd save some weight. Typically with most of these bikes, that's a lot of weight savings can be done in the fork. All right. So let's see. I saw something about 2x. There is no 2x option for this. They do sell a frame set, so you can buy just the frame and fork. It doesn't have obviously a braze-on mount for a front derailleur, and I don't know what the exact tube size is for this thing, but you know what? I got a set of calipers right here. This would be something just like I've done my Varco road bike that you can get a clamp-on style. If anybody's curious. Tube diameter looks like 29 millimeters. So if you can find something or something with a shim to basically get that to work, I think you would probably make it 2x, I'd assume. Clearance-wise with this 40 tooth, if you were going to run, you'd have to run a different crankset. I don't think an inner ring would work on this. If it did, it'd have to be pretty small. But you have to go down to clearance here to where, actually this is a 42. So you could probably go a 44 easily. 46 might hit. So I wouldn't probably go a whole lot bigger than the 42 if you're going to want some more top end on something like this. Let's readjust these a little bit. Bar tape feels nice. Feels pretty cushy, pretty grippy. It's not the typical cheap cork stuff that most bikes come with, so this is actually going to feel a little bit more premium than what you'd normally get. And this is their own State branded all-road bar. Looks to have a mild flare, I'd say probably between like 12 and 15 degrees. Drop seems really nice and short. Reach seems a little long, but that's probably just so they could do a shorter stem to kind of keep your weight over the middle of the bike. All right. And let's see here. I don't know if this is set up with, looks like it's just set up with tubes. Yeah, this is not taped tubeless, but obviously these are tubeless compatible tires. So let's see here. Throw the front wheel in. Front derailleurs aren't dead yet. I will be weighing the bike after we're done. I might not weigh it with both wheel sets, but I do have a luggage scale to give you an idea of what this does weigh. Their axles seem pretty nice. This is a 12 mil for the front. And again, guys, like I said, and girls, I think you're probably going to have a little bit more tuning than I'm going to because this bike was assembled once and used. So keep that in mind, that setting up calipers and rotors and things like that initially when you get a brand new bike is typically something that you do need to spend some time doing, or taking a visit to your local bike shop for them to do for you if you're not experienced or don't feel comfortable doing it. These are mechanical disc brakes, so you don't have to worry about hydraulic fluid or anything. Let's see here. Yeah, rotor's a little tweaked in there, so I'll probably adjust that. But brakes actuate the same front to rear. Okay, not gonna lie, that shifts actually really well. So to take a look here, these levers are what I'd like to call a very Shimano look, to where it basically looks like a Shimano lever, but functions like a SRAM. So basically it's gonna work just like double tap, to where you have a first click to go down the cassette this way. And if you click again, you get a click, you get 2 clicks and you go up. And there is a third one, so if you want to go 2 gears, you can. That's obviously, again, out of the box, has been adjusted, I'm assuming, at least once. Wow, actually surprisingly fast. Not a ton of lever movement like I thought it might have, being a more affordable group set, but surprising. All right. So I am going to actually have to try to pump this up a little bit with a hand pump. Because we're doing this live, I apparently left my floor pump in my buddy's car. So I'm going to try to get some initial air in it, at least just so that this thing doesn't rub when we're going through the gears, just to double check everything. So if you guys have any questions, besides the weight, anything else? Yeah, I don't. Yeah. Sean, I would totally set up if I had an extra set of valves and had some extra tape. This red rim strip tape, it doesn't look like it's tubeless tape, and I don't have, I believe these are 19 internal. I don't have any tape that's going to fit this rim size to make them tubeless. But I probably will set it up tubeless before for my full review, just to see how easy it is for you to set up at home. Wow, this little Zyme pump actually works a lot faster than I thought. Alrighty. Okay, any more questions, guys? Let's see. This is the Sensa group set. I don't know if they have multiple versions of it, but it has been rebranded, obviously, with the state logos. But honestly, kind of shocked how good this kind of feels. So if you guys are watching in real time, I'll go as fast as I can up the cassette and down the cassette so you get an idea of speed. So let's get this thing rolling. Then we go down. So it drops gears fast. Feels good as far as the shifting goes. There's a little bit more play in the lever than there is on my SRAM levers. And obviously it's not a fixed brake like SRAM is. So you're going to have some, as you can see here, some play in the lever before anything happens. But again, price point that this thing's at, it makes sense. And this honestly feels really actually pretty good. If this was something I was going to spec for myself, depending on where you plan on riding, how hilly it is, I don't know if I would do a 42. In the front, they do offer a 38, I believe, is the smallest since it is a bolt-on style. So that's, again, preference on your cadence and the type of terrain that you're going to be riding on. Let's see. Grill tape too. Let's see. So the tires, Caesar, these are, again, the original spec of the bike. When it originally was launched, it was launched with Panda Racers for the 650s and the 700s. Now they're offering it with Vittoria. So if you do buy the new one, you actually are going to get bigger tires. So this is actually a 48 by 650. The new ones are actually a 2.1, which I believe is going to translate to about a 52 or 53 millimeter equivalent for the 650s. Let's see, anything else? So if you want to see the shifter play, which obviously, again, I'm probably going to do an independent review on just the group set itself. For anybody interested in putting it on their older bike or in current bike or a new build, you can see here, that's how much lever play you have before anything engages. So right there is the bump stop kind of before you're going to shift into whatever gear that you prefer. How many mounts does it have? So this is going to have your 4-pack mounts here. It's got 2 other mounts here for basically if you have a different style of rack. You have a fork mount. You do not have any top tube mounts. And you don't have any down tube mounts. So you're just going to have your 2 standard water bottles, all your fender mounts and rack mounts for the rear. And obviously most of your mounts are going to be up front here on the fork. So I'll get this other tire kind of half inflated here so we can get it on the ground and weigh it. Then I'll pull out the other wheel set. These are 6-bolt rotors as well for the wheels. We're looking at just your standard mechanical brake. If I was going to do one upgrade to this bike, I would do a brake caliper upgrade. I'm a big fan of the Win. That's JUIN R1 brakes. I ran those on my Poseidon. Those are going to actuate with a mechanical cable, so you literally wouldn't have to change anything on your setup, minus just the caliper. And those are going to add a lot of stopping power compared to a mechanical setup. Obviously, I'll give these a full try in my review, but I've ridden very similar brakes to this many of times, and definitely doing an off-road, adventure ride or anything, especially packed up with bikes, like you're going to want a little bit more braking power, and they're not terribly expensive. They're about $160 on eBay. That also come with a brand new set of rotors and hardware. So you'll have an extra set of rotors once you wear out the current ones that are on the wheels. All right. So any guesses for the weight, guys? Any guesses? Any guesses? And again, this is a luggage scale, so this might not be the most accurate thing. Let's see here. Matthew, fender clearance with fenders? Yeah, I would say so. There's plenty of space in the frame. I'll even get my caliper out. I think realistically, you'd obviously want to get fenders that are designed for 650s, but I think you could run a set of fenders on this, no problem. Plenty of clearance in the frame. Yeah, I am a little low-key bummed. I definitely would want to try these tires, but I would love to try the 2.1s on this. I think that would make it a lot more rowdy and a lot more fun. How true are the wheels? Again, this has been ridden. Pretty true. They got a little bit they're a little bit out of true. Nothing crazy. I've seen a lot worse on a stock bike, but again, I don't know how many miles or how hard this was ridden during the photo shoot. But again, even though it has been ridden, I think this is definitely within like kind of what you'd expect out of a new bike. You always want to have your wheels tensioned and trued whenever you buy a new bike. Let's see. Okay, so we got some guesses on the weight. Seeing 26, 24. So they talked to me a little bit today. They're taking pre-orders for the next batch. They shared my story today because I saw I was doing it. I believe they said that they're almost sold out of the second batch already. So if you guys are watching this and interested, I would pre-order yours now, just because it sounds like they're not going to last very long. So got this going. So I don't have the pedals on the bike. Don't plan to ride the flats that they come with anyway. So let's see here. I'll first do it in pounds, and I should be able to convert it. So let's see. Woo! So with no pedals, 29.45 pounds. Let's see if that might not show up on there. So that is going to be 13.36 kilograms, and I believe someone guessed 13. So, and I apologize for me being sweaty, guys. It is hot in here because I'm trying to keep the AC off so that the audio is good. Let's see. All right, so initial thoughts looking at this. I'm actually really impressed. For $7.99, the frame looks solid. The welds look really nice. Again, mine is a used unit, so there's a few little nicks and stuff, but not really anything. Looks like they at least wiped the bike down before they shipped it out. As far as the gearing goes, obviously I'm going to give it a full ride, but it actually shifts shockingly well. Again, this has probably been trued or brought to a bike shop, so I suspect it being pretty good. So again, it's something that you definitely want to take to a shop or an experienced friend. Or if you want to learn, there's great videos on YouTube on how to do it. But since this is a one-by system, you're not having to true your front derailleur, so it does simplify it if it is something new to you. It is going to become fully assembled like this the same way it would be for you guys. But yeah, surprisingly, like I said, really impressed. Initial things that are just a preference thing for me is going to be, you know, just how I get along with the contact points. Saddle looks pretty generic, but most bikes are, but I usually test ride with the saddle I like. Handlebars look like a good shape, a little bit longer reach, but the stem is pretty short for this size. Do the stand over test. So granted, this is with the 650s, so this is going to be a little shorter than with the 700s. And I have about a 31.5 inseam on a good day, and I got plenty of room. So yeah. Now I'll pull out the 700Cs out of their box. You can take a look at those. Again, this should be how you get them once you buy them new. And I actually like how they spec these tires with the 38 for a slick. That's a great all-road tire for commuting. And then running that 650B now with the 2.1, I think is even better. Okay, so these are not mounted. So you're going to get the tires loose. You can spec the tan or the black wall. So if anyone's interested, this is the Gravel King. This is basically their slick tire. I run this on the road, and I actually really like them. They're very light for the size. You can see here basically what the tire tread's going to look like. So little micro knobs, but pretty slick in the center. But I will weigh the wheel set once I pull it out. And for anyone interested, it looks like the cassette and rotors are not mounted, but they are included. So that is something that if you don't have the tools at home, you will have to keep that in mind. you are going to get your rotors here and your cassette right here. Okay, so the cassette looks pretty nice. So you can see here, so you're going to get this cassette as a separate piece. It's going to be an identical match, hub set and everything. So locking this on, if you have your derailleur tuned with the 650s, this should be an easy swap, being the same hub and same exact brand of cassette, which should make wheel swapping basically seamless. I thought they might mount the cassette. The rotors make sense because obviously for packaging reasons, it looks like I took a bearing cap off with that. But these are sealed bearings. Actually feel pretty good. Don't feel too crazy heavy. They are not taped tubeless out of the box. Look really true. These actually look truer than the 650s on it. Again, they've been ridden, so it makes sense. There's the rear. Looks real straight. Feels good. Spoke tension feels good. Hub, not super loud. So all right. Anything else? Let's see here. I don't know where the frame's built exactly. They don't have any kind of stickers on the frame set that I can see. Does have a serial number on the bottom, but yeah, no, no mention of where their frames are made. Thanks, Matthew. Yeah, I'm sweating like I'm riding over here. Okay, so let's do a weight. So this unfortunately doesn't do grams, so we're just going to do pound here. So 2.5 pounds for the rear wheel. That's going to be roughly, I believe, around 1,000 grams for the rear. If someone wants to sit there and do the conversion, I appreciate it. For the front, is 1.92, so almost 2 pounds. So front's going to be around 900 or so grams. So you're looking probably around 1,900 grams, I'd assume, for the wheel set. Obviously, that's no rotors, no cassette, or anything else. Tires, and weigh that. .3 for the tires. So around these tires, I believe in this size, are around 350 or so grams a piece. Cassette. This cassette is about 1.19. So this is going to be about 600 grams, or no, this is going to be about 500 grams for this cassette. So obviously you could save quite a bit of weight here going to like a Shimano XT 1142 if you want to save some weight. Rotors, these rotors that are on here have similar style. They're about 130 to 40 grams depending on the size. These, I believe, are 160s. So all in, your wheel set's probably going to be about 6 or so pounds. If you're going tubes, that's going to add weight to it. Obviously, tubeless will save some. Yeah. Okay, so 4.9 ounces according, or 4 pounds 9 ounces according to their website. So compared to the Poseidon that I had, I don't think I ever actually weighed. I might have mentioned it in my review. I don't remember offhand. I think I weighed the stock bike when I reviewed the stock one. That one I want to say was around, with Claris, I want to say that was in a size large, between 26 and 27 or so pounds. But I don't remember off the top of my head if that included pedals or not. when I custom built my bike, I got it down to about 20, I think it was about 21 pounds, depending on the setup that I had. But that was obviously a full custom set. If I was going to do this, honestly, for this spec that's on there, it would be carbon posts and the lighter set of wheels. The group set, the crank is going to be the only thing that's probably substantial weight. But steel just rides so well. I obviously don't know how this rides yet, but I do have a steel road bike, all-road bike, and I do prefer the ride of that in general. But obviously, you're going to pay for it on the weight. But you also get a lot more utilitarian like mounts for this bike compared to the Poseidon. But that is something I do want to try. The new one with all their updates and everything will be very, similar pricing, but different, very different style of bike between the two. So very different person and buyer in mind, in my opinion. All right. Well, if you guys have any more questions, feel free to ask. I pretty much showed everything. Like I said, I'm going to be doing a full review of this. So make sure to, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're new here because of State's posting, I appreciate it, guys. This is something, again, I might start doing more often with product, unboxings or just kind of first impressions. Might just kind of roll that all into a live stream. But yeah, as far as finish goes and how it looks so far, it looks great. Yeah, it is a little on the heavy side, but kind of expected with a chromoly frame. But again, $800 in this spec with, I think the preferred wheel size is going to be the 650. Someone who's commuting, this is my one bike, the 2-wheel option is awesome because that's one thing I do all the time now on my Cobalt. And again, I'm working on a video for that of basically I run 2.2 650s on there with the Specialized Fast Track 2.2s. If you guys haven't seen that video, that's the last one I posted before this. And then I just switch on my whiskey wheels with some 32Cs for road rides and some mild hero gravel. So that's something where this kind of comes out of the box that way. So if you're not really worried about the weight, or if that even matters to you and you just want the mounts, the 700s would be great commuting wheel set or doing some longer rides on. And then you have the clearance, as we've seen with the new tires, up to a 2.1. And that's a very aggressive profile as far as the tread pattern goes on that Vittoria tire, to where you could literally have 2 bikes in one with just a wheel set swap and making it that convenient with the same parts and it just being an ideal 100% swap once you set it up, where you can do it in literally the time it takes to pull an axle out and put one in. That's killer to be able to change up your bike and have it ready for either style of riding in less than 5 minutes. So let's see. So handlebars, we'll go over that. I'm not sweating because I was watching Cops. It's hot in my place, and I took the AC off so that the audio would be better for you guys in the live stream. But that's something I'll have to work on for the next time. So bar shape, like I said, the reach as far as the distance from the bar to where the hood is longer than the bars I'm currently riding. Flare is mild, but there. So it does keep the bar out of the way for your wrists. But, the hood shape feels good. Again, this is a very short stem for my size. I typically would run on this style of bike, but again, I won't know because the reach obviously moves the hoods out farther. So that's probably, something that I'll test out when I set my fit measurements up to here if I need to extend it beyond the stock stem. Basically, every bike I've ever gotten that stock, I've always had to change the stem length. I'm very long torsoed, so I typically need to go out longer for the front end, but with the longer reach, I might not have to, or if I do, it probably only maybe a size up instead of like 2 like I usually run, because I'm very short legged for my height. Let's see, anybody else? And thank you guys for watching again. I know I'm a sweaty mess, but I hope at least it was somewhat entertaining. And for, again, apparently a bike that's very difficult to get because as soon as they go on sale, they go out of sale. But I'll be working on this basically for the next handful of reviews. I do have one other review coming out before this gets started because I like to put some miles on it first. But if you guys have any questions, if you watch this either from the beginning, I appreciate it. If not, make sure to leave a comment in the comments after this video is posted to rewatch it. And give me any questions you might have either now or later so that I can hopefully address all of those once the review is actually out and about. That's why I like doing these unboxings or first ride impression videos, just so I can get some feedback from you guys to make sure I answer or cover certain things that I may or may not include in the video if it's just me thinking of my own initial thoughts. But I will definitely try to keep all those in mind and answer them best I can. All right, guys. Well, let's see here. Is there a big difference in switching between 650 and 700? Yeah, definitely. So the question was, I'll post it here. In my experience, I'll briefly get into this, is it's going to make this bike very dual personality. So for numbers' sake, if you guys are wondering, basically a 650 by 47 is going to be roughly a 700 by 30 centimeter tire or 30C tire equivalent as far as height goes. So this tire combo is actually going to be lower than the 37s or 38s that come with the 700s. So that's going to do two things. One, if you're an in-between size person and you're really close and you're trying to get the bike to fit you a little better or lower that center of a height, if that's really the issue, that's going to be something where the 650 setup in this tire size will be lower. Now with the 2.1, I'd suspect that's going to be close to being identical to a 37 or 38 as far as height goes. But obviously, one big thing, roll-in resistance is going to be completely different with a semi-slick or a full slick tire in a 700. So speed is going to be a lot easier to maintain as well as get up to. So if you're road riding or commuting, it's going to be a big difference. Depending on your style of trails, being a bigger wheel, it's going to roll over stuff easier because it's physically larger. So it's going to go over potholes or ruts or things like that. It's going to float more than kind of sink in. The 650s are going to give you a little bit more basically extra turn in. So your technical rides are going to be easier because you have smaller diameter wheel, as well as typically you're going to have a more aggressive tread pattern on there. Now you can get an aggressive, WTB tire or whatever for the 700s to make it more aggressive. But if you want a real dual personality, this is kind of the setup I would run. If you have mild gravel or you have to do a lot of riding to get to gravel, something like a Gravel King SK like this is a great kind of intermediate tire. The Vittori they spec now is definitely a aggressive, really aggressive gravel or mountain tire or cross-country tire. That's something that I've been riding recently that I really like. So it really changes the bike up. It's a completely different animal. The handling is completely different. And I really noticed that when I was testing the WTB 50C Ventures, the turn-in for the bike on the same route that I typically do during the week was very different compared to the 650s, where there was almost a little bit of a learning curve difference on line choice for me, at least. And I'm not the greatest bike handler that I had to figure out when taking the same trail, trying to do the same line, but because of the tire difference in size, it really does affect the difference as far as handling goes. What about small person and 650? So that would be something that, again, I would definitely recommend if you're on the smaller side or worried that the extra small isn't small enough. The 650 is going to drop the bike. Now, again, that's with the 48s that are spec'd on this one compared to what they do now. With the 2.1s, again, I don't think it's going to drop the bike a lot. So that may be something that, if that's really your only concern, that'll be something where you may have to buy another set of tires that is smaller in a 650. And again, you can get these in something like a slick, like a WTB Horizon, if you want a more of a Road Plus setup and dropping the bike. So that's something that you have to play with depending on where you're at size-wise and what's important to you as far as ride quality or where you're going to take the bike and ride it on. All right, I'll give it another minute, but I appreciate, again, you guys watching. If you're just tuning in, you can rewatch this soon. I'm going to be, this will be re-uploaded to YouTube and be posted so you can watch it again. Comment below if you are not watching this live. And again, let me know any questions that I can mention during the full review that I eventually do for this bike. And again, I will be doing a separate review on just the group set as something that they are selling now by itself. So if you have a current bike or want to go one by, the price point is really good. And I'm going to see if it actually performs pretty well for how it looks. All right, guys. Well, again, please make sure to subscribe. Tell your friends. If you guys have one of these, tag me on Instagram. It's going to be @LockedIn Show, and I appreciate your guys' time for watching this live stream of Locked In.